I'm Amy from moonmindology.com, and if you're interested in a reading with me, you can book with me at my website moonmindology.com. Today I'm going to look at the chart of George Soros. So he was a Hungarian Jew, and the family changed their names from Schwarz to Soros in order to blend in and hide from anti-Semitism. So his father was a lawyer, and he helped to liberate Jews who were at the risk of being killed. And the family used papers which they said were Christian in order to evade persecution, and then they moved to London in 1947. So George Soros initially wanted to be a philosopher, but eventually he went into economics. He worked at a London bank, and then he moved to New York. In the 70s, he established his own hedge fund and eventually made an awful lot of money by predicting the stock market crash of 1987. And then he made even more money from the devaluation of the pound in September 1992. And of course, he made a huge amount of money from that. However, he did have an incredible loss, 14th of February 1994, and in 2002, he was convicted of insider trading. So this guy seems to mostly be around when there's some kind of crisis. In his later life, he has been involved with politics and philanthropy, and he's also been a public supporter of the Democratic presidents, and has shown himself to be opposed to the Republicans. So, do you love or do you hate George Soros? Please comment below, let me know your thoughts. Now, let's see if he really truly is the villain that the right say he is, or is he a progressive who wants to make a positive change to the world? So I have his ascendant as being in Libra. K2 is in the first house, which can make him very shy and reserved, but it can even be slightly out of body. So he does seem to be a big picture thinker kind of guy, but there can be problems with mind-altering substances as well as a disconnect from other people. And there also can be problems with health and in some cases marriage. And the ruler of the first and the eighth is in the 12th, which is very much connected to psychology and things that are out of this world. So there can be some problems with self-improvement, which can lead to problems with mental health. So there can be gains after losses, and he will enjoy travelling to foreign countries. Venus is debilitated in the 12th, which is awful for marriage, but it is really significant of betrayals and infidelity. However, this is a great sign for travel, and in some cases he could be very vulnerable to Venus related diseases. So we're talking about thyroid, throat, also your hormones, things like that. Also, with this aspect, I doubt that he would have made much of an effort to stay faithful to his partners, or they could be unfaithful towards him. The ruler of the 9th and the 12th is in the 11th, and this can bring blessings and lucks from social groups. And there are a lot of people from high society who he's always been able to mix with. His father may have had some impressive connections and could have taught him excellent skills in investment. Money could be made in large chunks with this placement, and there can be unusual friends and great issues with the elder sibling in some cases. Large amounts of money can come through destruction and endings, as it's the 12th house, and of course, this is in fact what happened. It just wasn't his own chaos, it was world chaos that he was able to extract from. His eldest sibling could have some kind of addiction issues or mental problems. Mercury is in the 11th, and this can give money from passive income as well as the ability to represent companies. Mercury is all about intelligence, and this is really good for intelligence with money, groups, social abilities. So it's like emotional intelligence, and he'll undoubtedly astound people, and he's probably quite funny too. However, with Neptune also in the 11th, there can be a sense of disconnect from social groups, or people around him could be quite delusional. His friends can also go into the realm of being glamorous. Mercury conjunct Neptune can make someone easily misunderstood by others, as well as giving him a great sensitivity. So he may be quite artistic and interested in foreign languages. The ruler of the 11th is in the 10th, and this is all about a career that's made through other people, as well as large amounts of money being made by him. And he would have always had a lot of opportunities to make money and set up business. The sun is in the 10th. It gets Digbala, and this is amazing for leadership and people in the position of being a CEO. And there is a general just interest in politics, government, entrepreneurship. That's what he will be interested in. And this is good for confidence and wealth. So it's a sign that his father was domineering as well as a downside. And the sun is conjunct the midheaven. So he would have always wanted to be some kind of leader, somebody who's famous. In fact, he probably would like to be a king of sorts. So if he was able to be. The ruler of the 10th is in the 5th, and this is a sure sign that he works with investments and gambling and his children. This is again linked to political interest, and he would have undoubtedly got involved in this kind of thing throughout his whole life. As the 10th ruler is also aspected by Mercury, this gives a career with business, communications and writing. The moon is in the 5th, which gives talent and intelligence, and he will love to teach, attend gatherings. He learns quickly, and he can process really intricate concepts. He can also be very interested in art and, as I said before, enjoy gambling. And 5th house, gambling, betting, and the moon is in a triconal house. He's good at gambling. This is where he made all of his money, investments, betting on the economy, the British economy, and he knew it was going to collapse, so he made a big bet. The ruler of the 4th and the 5th is in the 3rd, and this can create discord within the early home, but also a bit of travel, and the family could have been uprooted, and his family did actually have to move, I believe, I think to London, and this is another sign that he was destined to write books, as he has written many. Saturn is in the 3rd, which gives focus and dedication to communications and desires. There may not be a strong connection to his siblings, and there could have been a problem with early education as well. He can be quite rigid in the way he expresses himself, but there is an incredible focus, and he can drown out the noise of others and just get on with what he believes in and thinks is correct. He's like a steam train. Nothing can stop him. Saturn is also retrograde, so this makes this really strong, but it's also about maintaining boundaries, and his early home may have been full of boundary violations. And in the 3rd, there could have been problems with peers and siblings. The ruler of the 3rd of the 6th is in the 9th, and it gives a love of travel and learning, and this is a really good sign of writing a book. His father was a great inspiration to him, and I would imagine that his father did inspire his intentions to spread information that he feels is correct. And there can be travelling for work purposes as well as an interest in teaching. However, there can be problems with his father and teachers in general. So there can be problems with higher education in itself. Jupiter is in the 9th, and this can make him interested in philosophy and learning. Of course, he wanted to do that originally. And he was undoubtedly interested in law and justice on the way, and which is why he probably switched into economics. And that's what his father worked in law as well. This is a travelling sign. So he has a great ability to overcome problems and find solutions. So over and over and over again, we're seeing problems with the great father, problems with the father, problems with siblings, but also, you know, a love for learning and a lot of travelling around. He would have travelled all his life, most likely. So Pluto is in the 9th. This can give a fanatical nature, and he may be really pushy about what he believes in. Teachers could have been controlling in his experience, and also, again, father could have been controlling and domineering. Pluto is conjunct Jupiter, and they're two very objective planets. So I imagine that he's sort of an all or nothing kind of guy, and he invests with no abandon. So this is very, very resourceful as well. Mars is in the 8th, and this can cause accidents and problems with the blood and muscles. It's very charming though, and it gives great intelligence. Unfortunately, there's also a temper there, as well as, once again, problems with siblings, and he may be involved with some kind of scandal that is perceived as violent or criminal in nature. And of course, because he made his millions through predicting the collapse of the British economy in the early 90s, and a lot of people suffered at the result of this. A lot of people lost their homes. He's seen as the bad guy. I think people lost their pensions as well. Don't quote me on that though. A lot of people today feel that, he is waging war on the Western economy, and that would certainly fit in with this placement. Perhaps he is. Maybe it is a scandal, or it could be something real, because the 8th house does indicate economies. The ruler of the 2nd and the 7th is in the 8th, and there can be financial success via other people's money, their investments, and also through insurances. And money can be made also through illicit means, and there can be secrets around childhood. There can be secretive partners, and this is sometimes a sign of divorce or the partner working in secret organisations. Rahu is in the 7th, which can make him attracted to very successful people. I think his most recent wife is an entrepreneur, and the one before was a professor. So I would say that that's pretty successful. However, he's now on his 3rd wife, and Rahu can make marriage quite difficult. But as the 7th is contracts and business, there can be successful business relationships, and he did mix a lot with high society. Uranus is in the 6th, which can cause a lot of sudden changes in the workplace and sometimes eccentric colleagues. There can also be accidents at work, as well as a connection to working with electronics, inventions, and things that shake the earth. I want to also look at some really interesting dates to see what planets triggered his rise and fall. So first up, the economic fall he predicted and benefited from greatly. Black Monday, 11th of October 1987. This is a great example of a rise. Transiting Jupiter is going over his Rahu in the 7th house of business, and Venus is being transited by Ketu and Mars. If Mars rules the 7th and the 2nd house of money and business, and it's going over a debilitated planet, why did it bring a rise? So Venus, well, that rules the 1st and the 8th. As he was making money via investments, this fulfilled the positive meaning. And Neptune is so close to his natal Saturn that I wouldn't be surprised if he figured out that there was something up with the oil prices and put all his cash down on that. It's linked to oil. And as he works with economics, I wouldn't be surprised if he has also dabbled in astrology. Of course, finally, he was in the dasha of Venus and Rahu. What two planets were highly aspect at this time? Rahu and Venus. It was the perfect time for him to make stupid amounts of money through the financial loss of others. And now we look at his big win, the 16th of September 1992, which was Black Wednesday. And he was in the cycle of Venus-Saturn. And Venus, as I said, can bring gains through losses. And there was a stellium in his 12th house on his Venus and on his Rahu, and right next to his Saturn. Nodes and Jupiter on Dasha rulers are important in rising events. So what about the falls? What about the chaotic things that happen? His big fall was on the 14th of February 1994, when he was still in the Venus Saturn. So why? He's had a big win. This is a good dasha. So what's wrong with it now? Why is it changing? Well, both Venus and Saturn went into his 5th house of gambling. Don't gamble when you have a 5th house full of malefic planets. Also when they're dasha rulers. The problem is that dasha planets become very, very poignant, and wherever they go, they will bring meaning to your life, as well as bringing events. So you have to bear that in mind, and it will activate yogas too. So Venus is part of a Vipreet yoga, and sudden gains can happen through misfortune. I hope you've enjoyed my reading today. I actually get the feel that George Soros isn't innately evil or anything like that. He's just a very, very clever gambler, and he'll make money at your expense if he has to. It's the way of the world. Undoubtedly, he had a hard time with peers and siblings, so he's got very competitive quality, and he gets focused on what he does, and whether you get hurt is not his problem unless he's losing money. So he's a big picture thinker, and he'll sacrifice people for his idea of the greater good, and I don't think that's evil necessarily, but I guess it's heartless, but he's all business. That's what you need to be a businessman. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.